so, it is so strange. It's so strange. I was talking yesterday about the way everything the Democrats say, or liberals say, I should say, comes out, results in the opposite of what they say they intend. And another way you see this is with corporations. You know, the left has a point about corporations. The left traditionally was always shouting about corporations and the right was always defending them. But the left has a point about corporations, is that corporations can become so powerful that they become a pseudo-state. They become more powerful than the state. And we've seen a million Hollywood movies about this, where the evil corporation is hunting people down. But that is it's a fair danger, at least in the imagination. A corporation can become so powerful, so rich, that it controls the government itself, or at least becomes a proxy government. And we should watch for that. There are monopoly laws on the books where we can break them up, and there should be laws where they're held accountable. But suddenly, like, the left has just become the pal of corporations. I mean, when you think about, there's a big story in the New York Times today, the New York Times, a former newspaper, a big story about Facebook and how they've been misbehaving. So there's this big story in the New York Times about how Facebook covered up when it was accused of pushing fake news and letting the Russians get on there and letting all these people get on there. And they did terrible things. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg and what's her name, the COO of Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, they took this aggressive lobbying campaign to combat their critics. This is from the New York Times. They wanted to shift public anger toward rival companies, ward off damaging regulation. Facebook employed a Republican opposition research firm to discredit activist protesters, in part by linking them to the liberal financier George Soros. So Zuckerberg is attacking George Soros to get Republicans on his side. It also tapped its business relations and lobbied a Jewish civil rights group to cast criticism as anti-Semitic. And this is at the same time New York and Virginia, the bastions of left-wingery, are paying Amazon to move in. I mean, here's the thing where, what's her name? Google Eyes Cortez is actually right. She says she was outraged that they paid out all this money to Amazon to get them to move to New York. Governor Cuomo in New York said he had to offer subsidies to Amazon to compete against states that don't have an income tax. Why didn't he just rescind the New York income tax and then bring more business in? In other words, if you own a little store in New York, you got to pay these outrageous taxes to support Amazon coming in. So suddenly the left has become the party of big corporations. I've said this repeatedly, that big corporations love big government because little guys can't compete. They can't compete with the red tape. They can't compete with the legal work. All of this is to say that the people who are lecturing us about morals are the last people who should be lecturing us. You know,